Ladies and gents, welcome back to AusGamers. You are here once again with Stephen Farrelly out on the E3 show floor. There's been a lot of new games, a lot of sequels. You know, they're everywhere. But I think probably one of the strongest contenders for game of the show, in my opinion, and definitely like game of the year even at this stage. It's a big call, but Assassin's Creed 3 just keeps blowing people away, keeps blowing me away. You guys have done such a great job of, you know, ushering in an entirely new, era for the IP. So, you know, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the era. Now, I spoke over email with Alex, who's, you know, an Aussie. So, you know, that's go Aussie, go. You know, but where did this idea of just the American Revolution come from?
It came from a lot of places. Like you said, it's a new era of Assassin's Creed with a new assassin. And it was important that the assassin wasn't just new in his look, that he was new in the way that he moved, and he was new in the way that he was effective. And we thought an interesting and natural progression was to have an assassin that was at home in forests and more organic environments. So when we thought about that, the American frontier during the colonial times was a perfect stage for that kind of an assassin to come to life. Then on top of that, the Assassins versus Templar narrative had kind of been going there by itself. We weren't really planning it. It just kind of seemed that it was natural. And the themes that are being talked about during the revolution, so oppression and tyranny and taxation and that kind of stuff, and control, is the same stuff that's always being talked about between the Assassins and Templars. So it was a perfect reflection. So for us, between the assassin we wanted to make and the story we wanted to tell, American Revolution was the only place to go.
Now, you're the writer on the game, or one of the writers on the game. The beautiful thing about something like this is that you take, these wonderful slices of history and then rework them to favor your own, narrative ends. For you guys, how much did you just go above and beyond to kind of bring that era into the Assassin's Creed kind of cadence?
Well, I mean, we are very conscious of the historical accuracy of the game, and all of Connor's main targets are real people. They die at the right place at the right time. Obviously, not always the right conditions. Not a lot of guys got stabbed in the face. But outside of that, the historical record of the revolution is vast and deep. So we were able to be quite precise with the things that we were telling. For instance, the Battle of Bunker Hill, we knew the weather, we knew the amount on each side, how many guys died, the casualties, the topography, and all that together, we could actually recreate that battle. And it's the closest thing to being there outside of having a time machine, which doesn't exist yet, as far as I'm aware. And so we do a little bit of creative stuff with the assassin, but the actual everything that's around him is as real as we can make it.
That was you mentioned something in there, organic, and it seems like this is probably the most organic approach to the game from a player perspective, from a development perspective that you guys have ever done. The little things like, in the demo you just ran me through, just being able to impale a guy's face on a pitchfork as he walks by while you're into sort of a sticky cover situation. How deep is that entire system?
We wanted to really give the player agency. We wanted them to get out there and be able to take Connor and express themselves through him. And that was by redesigning his combat system, by making it a fresh new one with more options. He's a dual wielder, so he can manage groups better. We want to have contextual things like that, so he's more aware of his surroundings. And that's in keeping with his character. He's a very conscious being. His aura, he knows where everything is at all times, and we wanted that to come through in even simple things like killing that guy with the pitchfork or other contextual kills we have. And that was just part of building him as a character and having all of the mechanics and the narrative fit well, right? So everything he does expresses who he is, and I think people are going to have fun getting to know him.
So one of the bigger reveals here is the naval combat component, which looked stunning, by the way, when I saw it out of the Sony press conference. Can you just run us through how that actually works? Are we, can you kind of go into those at any time, or are they kind of story-driven moments?
Yeah, so when Connor gets his boat, which is a big moment, I'm not going to spoil it, he then has access to it. It's his boat, and he can go and use it whenever he wants. On top of that, there'll be major story beats that happen on the boat. For instance, we'll experience the Battle of the Chesapeake, which was a major naval battle, kind of a turning point, so Connor will be in there on his ship. But there's also going to be more systemic kind of exploration with the naval. It's all up and down the eastern seaboard. You go down to the Caribbean, up to the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and sail your boat.
So wait, like you guys have a bunch of systems in the game as well. So can you sail your boat at top speed, then climb the mast and dive off into the water if you want?
Well, no. When you leave the helm, the boat goes to full stop because we don't want no ghost riding. No ghost riding.
Damn it! That's all I wanted to do after I saw that. Okay, so I mean, multiplayer, is that back?
It is back. It's on the other side of this wall, and it looks great. I don't actually know much about it because it's being developed by the multiplayer team, and I know a little bit about like the context of it, but I would urge you to go and talk to those men because they know their stuff.
All right, I'll do that. So, well, let's get back to the story then. The last few games have been really quite complex in terms of storytelling, and there's multiple layers there. You know, like most games try to kind of steer clear of, you know, treating the player like they actually know something. But you guys are really happy to do that, and I'm kind of curious to know, like, what's the sort of complexity level of this one and how it ties back to the previous games?
Well, the common thread through all of them is, of course, Desmond in the present, Desmond in Co, and that's no different in this one. We're in Desmond's Animus, and that's the connection. He is the connection for all the assassins. They aren't necessarily related to each other, but they're related to Desmond. And we're happy to say that at this point, it isn't much, but we're going to spend more time with Desmond than we ever had before in the present, and we want to offer a complete and satisfying story for the fans and the players in that respect. So look forward to having more present action that keeps that all kind of woven together. As far as the complexity of the story goes, that universe was designed expertly by Corey May in terms of narrative universe, and he's on this one with me. And it's a pleasure to write. There's so much amazing tools that are just there. We get to have fun with. We have, you know, obviously Connor's story. And we have the story in the present. Then we have story, the first civilization stuff. And we have all these different parallel things happening and going on, and it's no different. And it's even bigger now than it ever has been before.
Now, in Assassin's Creed 2, there was Leonardo da Vinci, famous person, helped out Ezio with like all of his gadgets and stuff. It was a really good way to tie in, this wonderful figure from history. Yeah. Do you guys have anybody that's going to kind of fulfill a similar role to that in this game?
Well, we didn't want to make any characters that were like other characters before. We wanted everyone to be fresh and new and have their own kind of place in the universe. So there's no replacement for Leonardo da Vinci. But we do have lots of historical characters. We have George Washington, we have Benjamin Franklin, we have Charles Lee, we have Marquis de Lafayette. Just to name a few. There's many, many more. And it's just really fun to be able to bring those guys in and portray them as men. As flawed men, not superheroes, which a lot of the textbooks will have kids believe these guys were infallible gods that gave birth to a country. They made mistakes and they were scared and they had flaws, and for us that's more interesting. Makes them real, and it's better to think of those guys as real as normal men in an extraordinary time, and that's what we try to get across.
Now I'll wrap it up with one more question. A bit of a complaint, I guess, from the first game right through till just prior to this game releasing is strictly that the crowd system was always built around a more calculated, really short amount of time for all the AI. Yeah. They go kind of just walking, they're pacing more than anything else. What sort of systems have you guys introduced to keep the game more feeling organic and like the city's actually, legit? And, two parts of that is, let's kind of talk about the side quest emergent gameplay that happens as a result of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big focus for us from the outset, was to really bring the environments to life and make it feel like the characters, the NPCs, are living there and they have lives outside of Connor. So that was a big focus. So yeah, we have, you saw in the market demo, when we go through the market, people are actually shopping and they're tasting fruit, and they all have objectives. That was kind of a really easy win for us. Just give them a purpose, and then they have a purpose. But we didn't want it just to be aesthetic. We wanted it to be gameplay as well. So we started layering in these, we call crowd events, where they will randomly come out of nowhere and ask you for help, and it doesn't have anything to do with the main mission of the main story necessarily. So the player has complete agency to do them or not, and it just kind of, again, brings this sense that these cities are active and they're living. And in the forest, the animals are the crowd of the forest, and they have their own objectives, and they're interacting with each other. They're moving around these different areas. They have territories, and that for the player to be able to be going through the forest and come across a bear or some wolves or some deer, and not have them come running around and circling him. It's a really magical moment at times when you come across over a hill and there's a herd of deer grazing in the forest. It's pretty cool. So all that stuff piling on top of each other is what we were trying to do, and I think that it shows through in the demos that the crowds are a brand new thing. We can now have 2,000 characters on screen at once. We showed that off at the Bunker Hill demo a little while ago, and that's just, the scale of it just goes to a whole new level. So I think we got there, and I hope the fans will agree.
Well, I mean, I've always been a big fan of the series. I loved the first game, the second game, and then I sort of started to feel like you guys were losing a little bit of that magic that you had, and then this happened, and it's a welcome addition to the franchise, a welcome addition for all the fans. So, I can't wait to get into the game at the end of the year. So, no worries. Yeah, cheers, Matt. All right, have a good show. Cheers. Thank you.